Well, as Canada draws closer to choosing its next government, it's also drawing closer to April 2nd. And that's the day that U.S. President Donald Trump has promised his next round of tariffs. And those include reciprocal tariffs and maybe sector-specific tariffs. We're all up to speed on tariffs these days. So CBC's Richard Madden is here to bring us up to speed on what's next. So Richard, confusion over sectoral tariffs and reciprocal tariffs coming on April 2nd. Canada also has some temporary exemptions that will come to an end on that day. I mean, what did we hear from Donald Trump on this?
Yeah, hey, David. So more on again, off again, tariffs on the horizon, some confusion, but this latest moves appears to have rallied stocks on Wall Street. Now, President Trump appears to be narrowing parts of his tariff agenda, now saying he may exclude certain industry-specific sectors from his pile of reciprocal tariffs set for early next month. So these exclusions could include sparing tariffs on the integrated auto sector, which is covered by the USMCA free trade agreement, pharmaceutical imports, and possibly lumber. Now, keep in mind all his other stacks of tariffs targeting trade imbalances and those separate tariffs on Canada and Mexico linked to fentanyl imports are still on track to be implemented April 2nd. Trump calls it Liberation Day. Take a listen to what the president said.
Well, I may give a lot of countries breaks, but it's reciprocal, but we might be even nicer than that. You know, we've been very nice to a lot of countries for a long time, but I call it Liberation Day. April 2nd is Liberation Day. We'll be announcing some additional tariffs over the next few days, having to do with automobiles, cars, and having also to do a little bit with lumber down the road.
Okay, so lumber down the road. David, just to recap here, because this can get awfully confusing. Canada may see a temporary break on tariffs on cars and lumber, but Trump's 25% tariffs on all other imports from Canada and Mexico that he briefly paused last month is apparently still on track for April 2nd. Plus, there's those other 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum. And just how much Trump will hit Canada with those reciprocal tariffs is unclear for now. You noted off the top you had a fancy digital calendar, but I'm going to break out this old school calendar again here, David.
Analog.
Analog. April the 2nd. This will be a pivotal date, not just to reveal the totals, but it could be viewed as a major test of Canada's aggressive strategy we're seeing down here in the States, threatening of counter tariffs. The question is, will that strategy succeed or not?
And right in the middle of the second week of an election campaign. So look, what the U.S. is going to do on tariffs, a big story up here. But Richard, there's this incredible story unfolding in the United States today. I read about it in The Atlantic. The Trump administration, senior members, creating a group chat, accidentally texting the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic war plans. I mean, this is crazy.
Yeah, David, this is incredible and one of the bigger jaw-dropping stories I've seen here in the U.S. You're right, the White House is now investigating how a well-known journalist was added on a group messaging chain with President Trump's inner circle, and they were discussing secret plans to launch airstrikes against Houthi rebels in Yemen. Now, according to reporter Jeffrey Goldberg at The Atlantic, he was somehow added to a group chat about 2 weeks ago through an encrypted texting app called Signal. And on this chain were messages that appear to be from Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and other top national security advisors. Now, at first, Goldberg wrote he thought it was fake, but when the text reflected what actually happened, he didn't publish the actual military plans for the potential damage it could do to national security, but he did post a few screen grabs. I think we can pull some of them up here. You have Vice President J.D. Vance questioning the timing of the attack, essentially putting him at odds with his boss. But Vance also got some of his own digs in, saying he would hate to be bailing out Europe again. Then another one here, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz posting a fist emoji, the U.S. flag, and fire after those airstrikes were launched. So now the National Security Council says those text messages appear to be authentic, and the administration seemed to be at a loss just how this happened. Listen to this.
First is that we will not comment on the Secretary's deliberative conversations. And secondly, that you should contact the White House.
Houthis, you mean the attack on the Houthis? Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time.
So Democrats, as you can imagine, are calling this amateur hour a massive security breach by a party that once sounded the alarms when Hillary Clinton used a private email server. And the former Secretary of State giving her own reaction, posting, "You've got to be kidding me." But David, this was no joke.
You read that story, Richard, and it is jaw-dropping, and it was the National Security Advisor who created the group text chat.
Unbelievable.
It
Exactly.
is something else. All right, Richard, thanks so much. That's the CBC's
Bet.
Richard Madden in Washington, where there's a lot going on today.